Okay. So, all right, we'll make a new folder, make directory. By the way, you don't want to call the folder Flask, or really the file Flask either, because it may intersect with the Flask library, right? So we can call this like our Flask project, okay, and then Flask, so we'll cd into Flask project, and then we can make a new file called app.py, all right? And then we can, yeah, let's do code dot. So the first thing, right, I think that it says is from Flask. So from the Flask library, import the class Flask, right? And you can think of this as, remember our classes are like a factory, right? So we are producing basically a new web application when we do app, right? And then I think you have to do this name thing. This name is generally like the name of the file. Okay, it tells Flask what file is running, is kicking off the application. Okay, so it's like the app.py file. That's effectively what you're passing through. We can rename this just so maybe it's more clear. So now it's the index.py file. This name. We can go into more details of this later, but for now, that's effectively what it's telling Flask is, okay, what is the file that kicks this thing off, okay? And then the next thing you do is you reference this app, okay? And you basically say, let's do an app.route, and you specify when the user goes here, we want to call this function, like home. You need, obviously, to put a return value here, because this is the response, that's going to be sent back to the client, to the web browser. Let's just see this. And then, instead of doing the, what you guys did was, I think you did like export Flask app. Sorry, that wasn't intentional. Flask app equals the name of the file, like index.py. I prefer just doing this app.run down here, and then you can simply call the file, right? We can just do python3 index.py. That will run this file, so create a new app. It will define this route on this application. So this is referencing this app, and then kind of placing this function. This is like saying, when you call / run this function. And then this is still that same application, app.run. All right, so I'll do python3 index.py. We can see that this is now starting up. You can see it's telling us serving Flask app index, right? That's this thing here. And I press command and then just click on it, and you can see the hello world. If we make changes here, it won't be picked up. So that's why, kind of like William was saying, what I prefer to do is have the debug. You can do debug equals true right here. So let's shut this down. And now we can have this. And now it says hello everyone. And if I change this, it is getting picked up, which is very convenient, right? It's very nice. So by doing this, I just did the app.run debug equals true. Okay. This stuff right here, like what you're doing is remember we learned about APIs where, you make a request and then you get back a response. This is the same, this is like inside the API, right? We make a request through the browser, and then here we're saying what is the response that's sent back. For right now, the response is a string, but you could send back some HTML, right? And that's normally, with a web application, what you'll do. Okay, so this return value is what's getting sent back. If you forget the return value, nothing's going to get sent back, right? And you can read the way, when you make a mistake, you should look at either this will kind of specify the error. The view function for home did not return a valid response. The function either returned none or ended without a return statement. So reading the error message, very, very useful, right? The other place that you can see this is here. So what you're doing is you're looking for code that you wrote. I actually don't see too much here. Oh, there it is. The view function home did not return a valid response. The function either returned none or ended without a return statement. So then we should go to the function home, and here you can see that they're right. We did not have a return statement. All right, make the fix and refresh, and now we're good. Okay. So remember, like, if you're doing something like designing ESPN.com, then the home page would just say something like, welcome to ESPN. And then maybe, we go to ESPN, and then the next thing we do is you click on like MLB, and then when you go to, here it's baseball, but say it's like /MLB, right? That will take you to like the welcome to baseball, welcome to MLB. So let's do that. So that's what we're defining. We're saying, okay, when a user goes to app.route/MLB, then what do we want to do? We want to have the user call this function, maybe MLB, and then return, welcome to MLB. So again, we're now setting like a second route, right? These are our routes. We're saying when this happens, call this function. And you can see this is shut down. I guess it got thrown off by one of the changes I made, but I'll just rerun it. It looks like everything's good here. And now I'll go to my home, and then I'll go to /MLB. Okay. So this is all the code we have so far. I don't want this. Questions about this, right? We defined routes. We talked a little bit about debugging. We talked about this format where you just do app.run, and then you just run the Python file. And it's basically creating a Flask app and then defining these routes on your application, right? And then finally running it. Okay, the next, Sina, go ahead.
Yeah, so when you're defining the route, like when you define that route MLB, can you walk through that again? Because I tried to do a different one, and I'm not really seeing any changes.
Okay, do you want to share your screen? We can take a look at it. No?
Okay.
Yeah, it's not so bad.
So, like in the quick start, it said to, define the route as /hello. But, when I activate that, nothing, the site doesn't change.
Let's see. So let's go to /hello. So in the browser, go to and then just put /hello at the end. So this is going, so you guys get this, right? This is now the URL. We're switching it.
Okay.
And this is going to call, so that's a really good point, right? This is now going to call, look down the list, find /hello, and then run the corresponding function.
Okay,
right?
Thank you.
So yeah, one analogy that's been used before is kind of, I don't know why it works, but it seems to make sense. It's like a switchboard operator, like if you've seen like Mad Men, or you probably have seen like these how they used to do phone calls back in the 50s, where like the operator's in that back room, and that's kind of what's happening is you're specifying here, right? When you go to a website, you're specifying, okay, who do you want to like call, all right? So here we're specifying with /MLB, to like ask about MLB. What Flask will do is it gets the request here, and it just goes down the list. it looks down this list for something that matches. It sees, okay, /MLB, and then runs this function. We can, let's actually put a breakpoint here. Import break, we don't need to import breakpoint. Let's put this right here. And I'll refresh. And then you see this? We're paused right now. Like it's trying to load, but it's paused. If I go to my terminal, look where I am. I'm in index.py line 13. So you see that? We made the request from the browser, and now we got stuck, right? The application's is processing the request, and before it sends back the response, here we are, right? We're in this function. If you look at, I think you can type in the word request. Oh no. What is it called? Hold on. Flask C request. Oh, you need to check the request.
You might need to import request.
Yeah, maybe I have to import request.
Flask.
Yeah,
it's
from
part of
Flask,
Flask.
import request. Thank you. Right. So from Flask, import Flask, comma request. Great call. And now let's try this one more time. And I could have. And let's just hit it again. So I'll refresh. We are inside this function. And now if you look, you can see this is the information about what the user asked for. The user made a GET request to this URL. And this is an object, by the way, I believe. So I could do something like, I can see all the, .dunderdict or whatever. Right? This is it got a lot of information about the request. Like it knows that I'm making a request from Chrome. Probably maybe it knows something that I'm using Apple. Right? Here it is. Apple, Mac. Right? This is all the information. By virtue of me going to the browser here and making the request, Flask is smart enough. What this is doing is it's going to port 5000 on my computer, just going to a location on my computer where this is running, and then it's looking for /MLB. It sees it, right? Here's the path, /MLB. So it looks down the list, it sees it, and now it calls this function. All right? So that's where we are. And then if I press continue, because right now it's still waiting. It made the request, but it's still paused. But if I put continue, then it's done, right? We sent back the response. So this is what happens when you visit a website. When I go to espn.com/whatever NBA teams, we're going to hit, a computer, probably on Amazon, that's hosting it. And then ESPN's Flask application is going to look down their list until it sees /NBA/teams or whatever, and then spit out the HTML coming back here. So let's make that maybe more clear. Yeah, 2 people raised their hands. Who was? Serge.
Yeah, so if you are not at app.run debug equals true, and if you have not added this one in the file and you define a new route, would it work without having to run again the file?
I think so.
.py?
Yeah, let's try /NBA/teams, and then we'll do we should call these functions different names, like you have to, otherwise things will go wrong. And just return Sixers, Nets, whatever, Clippers. All right, so now we'll go here. Sorry, I was just shut down. But I believe it would. If it doesn't, you just shut it down. And now let's go to /NBA/teams. Right? So it's just matching. That's all it's doing. It's just literally going down the list and matching.
No, Sorry, I was saying if you had
if we-
deleted
I know.
Abdullah.
Yeah, we can try it. So we'll comment this out. Python 3 index.py. We'll refresh. So now the URL is not found because it's not defined anywhere here. And then we'll comment it back in, uncomment this, refresh, and it's still not, oh, there it goes. Okay, so we're good. So yeah, you can define these on the fly as long as we have this debug equals true. And then William, yeah, go ahead.
I was just curious how you defined NBA and teams. If that is that how you define those endpoints? They're not like that's how you would do that. Like somehow like teams isn't like a.
Oh, you're talking
I
about.
don't know.
Are you
method's not like underneath like a method in that route.
This is fine. Like you could, as your project gets more complex, maybe you'd move this into a separate file, and there are ways
Right.
to do that. It would be more like that you would do, you know. But yeah, this would be a separate route, really. Like there's nothing really shared. I don't think. Yeah, this would be a separate route. It's more just descriptive, saying like this is about the NBA than like for the user, for like yeah. Okay, so for something like this, when you click on individual teams, let's go to ESPN NBA.teams. Like let's click on the Celtics, right? You can see that the URL changes to Boston Celtics, and this text is Boston Celtics. And if we go to, you know, the Sixers, you can see that this URL, right, we're now making a request. We're asking ESPN for this information, and it sends us back stuff about the Sixers. So what ESPN does is it's going to like, you notice the templates are really like the same, like Philadelphia 76ers here, the Celtics, right? It's the same kind of template. So it has to take some of the information, like some stuff is unique, some stuff is common, is I guess my point. So we can do something similar to that. These are like, we've seen this before, right? Our parameters. And what we can do, I believe, is put slash, and we'll call this like the team name, right? Maybe we'll define a new route for this. Let's hope this works. Slash the team name. And we want this team name to be returned, okay? So what will happen is if I go to slash NBA slash teams slash Sixers, this thing right here, because I have this alligator brackets here, this says pass this through as an argument right here. You can actually see this kind of by reading the error message. Watch, if we try this, this should break. Oh, it broke really bad. Let's see. Oh, okay, maybe this is... View mapping function is, overriding an existing endpoint NBA teams. It did not like that. I'm surprised. I didn't think it would be that bad. It doesn't, it thinks that we're conflicting this and this. It sees this as the same. So it's okay. I'll just call this NBA teams slash team. Or let's just call this a...
Or maybe it's just the name of the function itself instead of
Oh, thank you, Brian. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. So let's change this to be like team. Okay? That's a much better functioning. Or NBA team, right? The singular. So let's try this again. That should fix it. So now we have slash NBA teams slash NBA teams. So we didn't change the route. We only changed the function name. And let's do Python 3 index.py, and that seems to work. Now, if we call this right here, this I believe will break. Okay, good. Take a look at it. NBA team got an unexpected keyword argument team name. Okay, so what does that mean? That means when we type in Sixers here, it is calling this function. It's basically calling this function NBA team with a keyword argument of team name equals the Sixers. And that's why it's producing this error, because this doesn't take any arguments here. So what we'll do is we'll say specify team name here. So now when we call this function and pass through whatever this is, down to here, this would be Sixers. This is going to be Sixers, and then we can return just the team name, or you can, make this an F string and return team name. Welcome to homepage. All right. And I think we have to boot this up again. So we got an error. Oh, it might be complaining. I think we might have an error. Oh no, it works. So how does this work? I'll just show you one more other thing. Here's the Nets. Welcome to the Nets homepage. So it's fancier than this. It gets harder, obviously. It gets more complicated. But you can start to see how we're able to create a dynamic web page. We're taking user input and the user's asking for this, and we're kind of placing it here. Okay? So what's going on? Someone goes to /NBA/team/nets. Flask will look down the list, /NBA/teams, almost there, but we're missing that last slash something. /NBA/team/something, here's the team name. It's going to then say, okay, we found a match, so I'm going to now call this function with the argument team name equals whatever this value is. Okay? So it does nets. So just calling at this point, it's just calling a function like normal. And that's, so this is what's outputted. Right? This part here ends up executing this, NBA team Sixers, and then this gets hit. You can also see this. We can also put a breakpoint here to start to see this. So if I refresh, let's call this, the Knicks. So we hit our breakpoint, and you can see here we are. And because we're in line 21 of index.py in the NBA team function, so we're about to be right here, we can look and say what is team name? You see that? It's the Knicks. We can also look at our request and request.dunderdict. And remember, this is telling us, right here's the path that it sees. And there probably is something like request.params. .param? No. We might have to import params. But you can see this. Here's the kind of the parameters that we're getting here. All right, team name of Knicks. Okay, so this is how the user is now not only able to call a function, right? It's not only, but also pass through specific arguments into the function. Okay. I feel all right? Or not really? Yeah. Okay. Let's oops, we gotta admit. Cool. Okay, so we'll start sharing. So call this like ESPN app, and we'll do ESPN app, and we can just touch, I guess, like an index.py, right? And then we'll open up code dot, and basically we'll just get started, So it's from the Flask library, import the Flask class, right? Then we want to create a new instance of the Flask application and assign that to their app. Here we're using, you remember this is really like a decorator for those of you who went through the property material. That's why we have this @ sign here. So it's referencing this, and it's basically passing the function underneath, like home, into this route function. And that's what says, when you visit /, it's almost like an argument, like call the home function. It's basically saying something like that. So then under here we'll say, return welcome to ESPN. One thing to note, like you're always returning essentially a string. Eventually we'll see like how to return JSON, but even that is technically a string. So this return value has to be a string. Okay. And then I always like to, and then we can say, when we run this file, boot it up, and then do debug equals true. And then so notice I did not set any, do any export Flask app thing. I don't need to. If I have this app.run debug equals true, then I'm good. I can just do Python 3 index.py, and I don't need to set any environmental variables. So just boot this up. It's running on 5000. We can click on this, right? And we're good. Okay. And I like to get that feedback loop, even when it seems pretty simple. All right. So the next thing that we can do is let's do the player. Let's say we'll build this is our show player function, and maybe this will take in a player name, and then we will return player. And we'll do the name of the guy, player name, homepage, page. And this is an F string, right? So this is just normal Python, right? The only thing that makes it Flask is that we say when somebody goes to /players/player name, call this function with the argument player name, right? So now if we go to /players/ Claude, and it breaks. Let's see why. Oh, diff play. So it's telling us index.py line 9. So just go to the terminal. Let's see what this is saying. Line 9. Seems like it's app.route. Let's try running this again. I think it just yeah, this works fine. Sometimes I think it while I was typing, it tried to rerun this and it broke, it got confused. But all I did was just, okay, let's try it again. I reran Python 3 and it works fine. All right, so now you can see that as we go visit different people, Eric, right, it now says Eric page. So we can connect this. So remember what's happening here is we're passing through a parameter here, and then Flask is seeing it here and executing the function basically by calling show player name equals Eric, right? So the next thing we can do is kind of add some HTML here. So we'll do, normally what happens is in your terminal, you'll kind of be running the app in one file, in one tab, and then you'll have another tab open to the same directory. So this way we can do make directory. We can call it views, and then this is where our HTML should go. So now you can see we have this views folder, and to reference it, I think, what is it called? Template folder, I believe, equals views. So this is just, initializing a class that now takes an argument of template folder equal to the string views, right? This is Python. We're creating a Flask class. This is the first argument, and then this is a keyword argument. Template folder equals views. And that means, hey, if we're going to render a template, then look for that template in this views folder. Okay, let's start doing that with ESPN with this. So this time you still need the word return, because what render template's going to do is it's going to return to me the string. It's still going to give me a string, but that string's now going to be coming from index.html here. Let's say h1 welcome to ESPN. Okay, and we'll look for, can I just do this index.html? That's it. All right, let's boot this up. And now let's see what happens. I'll go to home, and it goes to welcome to HTML, because it renders the template. And let's actually put a breakpoint here. Maybe we can call this function to see a better idea of what's going on. So you can see right here, like at the very top, we're now in the middle of my breakpoint. I can see that here. If we're confused about what render template does, maybe we can just call the function. You see that? It returns the string. So it's the same idea, right? This function here looks for index.html in the views folder, and that returns the string welcome to HTML, and this string is then returned from this function right here. Yeah. All right. So let's keep going. So now let's do the same thing with our player page and basically move this over, and we'll call this player.html. And now this is going to be a little tricky, because if I move this over, I'm going to do render template, and now this will be the player.html. So I can do most of it. Like, I can make it static pretty easily, right? We can just say, and maybe make this in the h1. Right, so it's static right now. Right, we'll see what this does. So boot this up, and now if we hit /player/player name, it will call this function. But then once we get here, we're not really using this argument, right? This function argument anywhere, right? Because then we just call player.html, and that just does this, I think. In fact, this may break. Hold on. Let me just put player name hard-coded. So now we'll go to /players/Claude again, right? And now you see this just says player name page. What we want to do is like pass the data. So we've taken the data from here. It's going to get passed to here, call my function, right, with the name Claude. And now we want to pass it into the HTML itself. So the way you can do that is we can say, kind of pass through arguments here. So I'm going to call this player name equals. I can call it whatever I want. Like, I'll call it NHL name just to mix it up. And now, so this is the argument to the function. This is the value, right? This is equal to like Claude or whatever this is. Right, that's what player name is, right? Because it's just an argument. Now we're going to pass this down to here, which means inside my HTML, I should be able to reference this as whatever this guy is. So this is saying, hey, you're setting, basically a variable in your HTML called NHL name that's equal to this value, player name. We can put whatever, All right, let's just see it. So this should be NHL name. I think I need 2 squiggly brackets for Jinja. Take a look. It breaks. Oh, it broke early again when I wasn't done. See that? That works. So how does that work? We're taking the player name, Eric, right? It's calling our function, and now we're saying NHL name should equal the player name, and then over here we have this NHL name. Let's see, I think we could even put a breakpoint here to see this a little better. I'm not sure. Can I do that? We'll find out. It doesn't like it. Oh well. Well, we tried, guys. But you can see kind of how this is working. Note, you can put whatever you want here, whatever. Okay. Now NHL name is going to be whatever, right? Because we're just passing the string whatever to NHL name, and that's what's going to come up. See that? Player whatever page. Okay. So, but generally you'll stitch these pieces together. That we want to take this value, call it the function with it, and then use it in our HTML. So we'll just call this player name. And now they'll stitch together. Eric. Okay, so from here we can kind of use, so before I move on, how does this feel? What questions are there about this? All right, and remember, you can always put a breakpoint here. Here we should be good. And you can refresh. Now we're in our breakpoint. And then we could just copy and paste this code, probably. We can just dig around like we normally would. Like, what's player name? Okay, Eric, what do we get if we do this? Well, we get this string coming from this right here. Okay. And then just do continue. And here it's returned. Let's remove the breakpoint. Okay, so now we can use, some knowledge about HTML. So I think the first thing we'll do, we'll just create a /players file, route, and we'll render template, players. We'll hard code them for now. Let's call this players. Right, so when they go visit /players, we'll call the players function, and then that will render this HTML. If we just run this /players, I wanted a better error message than that. Oh, it gave me actually, am I reusing the same? No, I'm good. I wanted to see if I was reusing the same function name. Remember I ran into that error before? But it looks like I'm fine. Okay, so now let's do this. This is what I wanted. See this? Template not found, players.html. This makes a lot of sense. It's looking for players.html. It knows to go to this views folder, but it doesn't exist. So now let's make players.html. And we can basically make, a UL with an LI. There's a bunch of LIs. And inside these LIs, we can have an A tag that says, Claude, and we'll put /Claude. All right. And this is another A tag. This will be /Eric, and this will be Eric. All right, and let's just do one more. Let's do A tag, and this will be /Wayne. This will be Wayne. All right. So now let's go, so now this time if we go to /players, we should be good. It doesn't take everything's hard coded, so it doesn't take any arguments, right? There's no, but it should render the page. So we go to /players, and here's our 3 people, okay? Now if you click on any one of them, think about what's gonna happen. If you click on Claude, actually, I put in the wrong thing, didn't I? You don't want it to go to /Claude. What we wanted to do is we really wanted to go to, we wanted to call this. We wanted to call /players/Claude, right? So we can do this, /players/Claude. And if you do that, then really when you click on the link, let's inspect this. See this? /player/Claude. So when we click on this link, it will take me to /player/Claude here, which then will make a request. Flask will look down the list, see /players/Claude, and render the player HTML with Claude pass through. So let's click on this, and that works fine, right? So let's just do this for the next one. So do /players/Eric, and that looks good, right? So now we refresh. Let's go back here. So let's refresh. So if we click on Eric, let's inspect. It'll go to /player/Eric. So this will make a GET request to /player/Eric if we click on this link, and then Python or Flask will just look for that route, /player/Eric, it will render the player template passing through the player name. It will look, set this variable of NHL name, and that will be equal to Eric. And then when we go to the player.html, we'll say player Eric page. So let's click on this, and that works fine. And then we'll just do the last one, and then we'll make this a little bit more dynamic even than this. So players/Wayne, and then we could even put like something here that says like, paragraph, go back to the players page, and this should be an A tag, right? Let's do it here. And this A tag should have the text of players, and it should go back to /players. Oh, I want this on the individual player page. I'm sorry, guys. Go back to, so if I go on an individual player, now it will take me back to the /players, right? If I click on this. Let's just see this. So now I'm on Eric's page. Let's start from the beginning. I'll go to /players. I'll click on Wayne. It says here's Wayne's page. And now if I go back to the players page, it should make a get request to /players, find it, and then render that players template, which lists all 3 players. You see that? So that's kind of nice, right? This is how a website works, right? Just stitch things together. All right, questions about this? I'll show you one last thing, but questions about this? The last thing we could do probably is just, this is repeated, so we could make this a loop. The way to do this is you can pass through you don't have to pass through an argument here. You probably could set a variable somehow, but let's just do that. We'll say here's our players. It's a list. And we'll say it's like Claude and Eric and Wayne. Okay? And now we'll go through here. We'll say in Jinja. So you see this, I'll send this out. Here's this Jinja quick start. And you can see this is exactly what they're doing right here. For each item in the list, create an LI and make this part dynamic, right? Make this part equal to the item name. So for us, for each item, this is really for each player in the list of players. Where's players coming from? It's coming from here, right? We're rendering the template, setting players equal to this list, and then over here, for each player in the list of players, display the player, and then finally end the for loop. So notice there's kind of a difference here we have this squiggly bracket percentage instead of the double squiggly. That's because this for loop, you're not displaying the for loop, like you're just displaying this part. You're displaying the LI. Also notice that we're not outside the UL, because otherwise we would create 4 unordered lists. We just want one unordered list, and an LI element for each player. So let's see that. We'll delete this for now. And we'll refresh, and it breaks. Why? Let's try this again. There we go. So Claude, Eric, Wayne. Even though our HTML looks like this, right? Player the first time is Claude, so it creates an LI of Claude. The player the second time is Eric, right? So you can see how this works. But instead what we want really is we want this, right? This is really what we want. We want /a href. So this part should really be the player's name. Okay? So let's do /squiggly bracket, player. And then in here, we'll do the same thing. Right? And then we'll just wrap this as in an LI. I really want to delete this. All right, so let's take a look. So for every player in the list of players, that comes through here, right? For every player in the list of players, create an LI, create an A tag of slash player slash, the first one will be slash Claude, display the name Claude, and then, and the for loop. Let's see if that works. So that seems to work. You see how this generated it? So that you can take a look at these LIs. So slash Claude, slash player slash Claude, slash player slash Eric, right? That occurred because for every player in the list of players, we'll do slash player slash that player name. Now if I click on this, that works because we know that Python or Flask will be looking for slash player name, which is exactly what we made a request to, right? So that's how these things can stitch together. Okay, questions about, this is obviously tricky, but hopefully you can get the idea of it, right? The idea is to set up your links so that they call the routes that you established. And because we follow this pattern, right? That's what we want to do. Any parts you want to see again, or any parts that felt confusing? No? Okay. All right, so